And for more than 10 years, there's been a decline in global democracy, with countries restricting civil rights and the media. That's all according to a new Freedom House report. We look at some of the countries of most concern. Where do you think yours ranks? You can connect with us with the hashtag AJNewsGrid.
You've been looking at some of the countries that received a downward trend arrow in their rating. So what did you find for us?
Well, there were 10 countries that were ranked lower on this scale. So the countries here, lots of different ones, including South Sudan, the Philippines, Turkey, also on that list, but also Ethiopia, one here that has received a very low score because of ongoing protests and clashes between two of the largest ethnic groups, the Oromo and the Amhara group, against the government, saying that they're being oppressed, and especially over land rights as well. The government says that about 10,000 people have been freed from being detained, but there are other reports saying that there are still many more that need to be freed. The hashtag Amhara protests and Oromo protests have been used with this, even though that there has been a media crackdown and a state of emergency issued from Ethiopian government officials. This tweet here from Flagot saying, "Dear world, this is our struggle and we will pay the price. We are not asking much, but for a voice." There's also been a lot of social media campaigns to free those who have been detained, like Bekele Gerba here, a very well-known protester within the region here. The hashtag Free to Be Home has been used there to draw attention to this situation. China also on the list, getting a pretty poor score as well. That is because what Amnesty is saying is based on a crackdown on human rights lawyers, and Freedom House has also been very outspoken against their standing as well for civil rights. In China, there's also, this is from our webpage, there's been a new law that's been tightening control over nonprofit organizations, non-government organizations. There are controversial regulations imposing bans on political or religious activities at odds with the government. So it's definitely something that is ongoing, Doreen. A lot of countries on this list, like I was saying.
Interestingly, though, there is one country that received a downward trend arrow, but at the same time, it's listed as free.
Right. That country would be Poland. So Poland, it's really interesting. So it is listed as free, but the media have been restricted from covering certain things in Parliament and have been restricted from lawmakers as well. This video was posted by one of the protesting lawmakers in Parliament here, his name Jan Grabik, saying that there should be freedom of speech to free the media within Parliament. There have been hashtags free media for this, trying to get more traction to allow media to cover these different issues that are brought up in Parliament and bring media closer to lawmakers. This is a protest from earlier. There have been reports that this would be toned down, that the media would be allowed back in, but there have been more protests and more scenes like this. This is from earlier January, since this ban, or restriction rather, was imposed. It's not all bad news, though. One last thing, there is one country, and the only country, that got an upward rating, and that would be Colombia, because of the government's recognition and efforts to work with the FARC rebels there. Interesting story, though. You can engage with us and join in on the conversation with the hashtag AJNewsGrid.
This is where we get to spend most of our days. We file our stories here, do our live reports. It's also one of the few smoking areas, so we have to put up with that. The weather is quite nice and hot, but at night it gets very chilly and cold as we wait for resolutions from the heads of state. That is our producer there, Joy. Hi, Joy. This is the last day of the summit, so very soon we'll be packing up and on to the next story.
So that's a look behind the scenes of the summit in Addis Ababa. Leah, what's the conversation like online?
A lot of Morocco, Doreen. There's a lot of excitement since Morocco is now a part of the African Union. Again, as Catherine Soy was telling you, a lot of excitement. Like I was saying, Morocco is back in the African Union. We're back in the game. That's according to WAFA. And there is a bit of hesitation, though, as to their joining back into the AU. Ruth Ann here saying, well, what happens to Western Sahara, drawing some regional issues into the conversation here. There's also a lot of excitement out of Chad. So the foreign minister, Faki Mahamat, he won the chair position for the African Union. A lot of congratulations there, a lot of very positive sentiment. Some people, however, saying that it wasn't a good appointment, but you have that anytime anyone gets any chair position as well. But in Kenya, interestingly enough, their Secretary of Foreign Affairs, Amina Mohammed, she was a close second and runner-up to this position. But out of Kenya, the hashtag Why Amina Lost picked up some steam, mocking really why people think Amina did not get this appointment. Isabel here saying maybe it's because Africa thought we had more to do at home than abroad, like to kick out hunger or return doctors. Okela here saying that Kenya lost, not Amina, and it's probably because our priorities are wrong. I've been talking to several of you about this, but one of our WhatsApp users in South Africa sent us this video on his perspective.
Morocco's re-entry into the African Union, while there's still the outstanding Western Sahara issue, could also be an indication of a body that's not really taking the interest of its citizens first. Gambia is also such a recent incident whereby ECOWAS had to take the leading role in removing a president that's been in power for 30 years. So there's various such examples where the African Union seems very silent and where we, the citizens of this continent, would actually love to see a body that takes a firm stand.
We put a call out on our Twitter handle at AJ English asking you what you think the top issues the AU should focus on this year. Kenya here, his name on his Twitter handle, saying that the biggest issues are bad governance, clinging onto power, and of course corruption, also mentioning poverty there and oppression. And then we also had this very interesting tweet with Owongu saying, well, just look at the picture above. Not a soul under 40 there. They should prioritize youth investment. What do you think? That call out still on our Twitter handle at AJ English, or you can get in touch with us with our bigger hashtag AJ Newsgrid.
We'll stick with the U.S. for a moment, and Leah, you'll tell us what's trending over there today.
Right, well, Doreen, it's of course about Donald Trump. Donald Trump has been trending, and other issues as well, of course, including Sally Yates. Sally Yates has been trending in the United States on Tuesday, along with phrases like resist and Constitution. And there have been some trending memes as well. You may have seen this one on your Facebook feed or maybe your Twitter feed. Hey, Sally, you're fired, of course, in reference to Donald Trump on The Apprentice. But the hashtag Thank You, Sally is also widely used across the United States. The Women's March, this is one of the most retweeted tweets on Tuesday, was by the Women's March saying that they stand with Sally Yates, calling her a true American hero. The 82nd Attorney General, Eric Holder, was saying that Sally is what skill, judgment, and courage look like. Donald Trump, of course, took to Twitter to say something about this as well, saying that the Democrats are the reason that he's not able to get his Attorney General and the rest of his cabinet ready, saying that they're stalling efforts and are continuing to take this process and make it longer. So Donald Trump's response there. Another name that's trending in the U.S. is Steve Bannon, Donald Trump's chief strategist, also recently nominated by Donald Trump to be a permanent member of the National Security Council. This cartoon, also widely popular, something that I keep seeing on my Facebook feed, highlighting the role many say Bannon plays with Trump's presidency, some even calling him President Bannon. A very interesting conversation there. But Susan Rice, she was a former ambassador to the United States and was one of Obama's national security advisors, said that his appointment to be a permanent member of the National Security Council is stone cold crazy. An interesting conversation there, again, that's trending in the United States. You can get in touch with us if you would like to at hashtag AJ Newsgrid, or you can write to me directly about any of those pieces that you just saw at Leah Harding AJE.